1190, Dallas-Fort Worth's place to talk.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station or iHeartMedia.
A professional counselor in the Dallas area is growing in popularity for his treatment methods.
How do you talk to kids about terror? And with social media and television, it's everywhere, and it's unavoidable for kids.
Rusty Lozano is the founder of the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy. He's also been nationally recognized for his work with brain mapping.
He's created a gym to work out the mind. His office features an obstacle course.
Rusty Lozano is a licensed professional counselor, helping children with headaches, with anxiety, ADHD, and more.
Here's where Lozano comes in. He teaches kids how to think their pain away with something called biofeedback.
A North Texas therapist is treating patients in this unconventional way.
We have Rusty Lozano who's joining us today. He's a licensed professional counselor.
We put together an unusual treatment for teenagers who are struggling with mental issues, except he's taking this now a step further.
Rusty Lozano, a leading therapist and pediatric biofeedback therapist based in Texas at the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy. And Rusty, thanks for being with us tonight.
Rusty Lozano, a father of four and also a professional counselor in Texas, says it's all about being a credible resource to your children.
The Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano, your dedicated resource for mental health news, views, and tips you can use. Brought to you by the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy in Addison, Texas. And now, here's Rusty.
Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to the show. You're listening to the Therapy Hour, broadcasting live from the studios in Addison, Texas, at the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy. Thank you for joining us. From time to time, I run into a very inspiring story, inspiring individual, and I like to highlight, their experience and the things that they've done with their life. And there are lots of these types of stories, but I don't get to encounter a personal experience in them much. So I want to introduce my guest today. And I know him a little bit more personally than the average individual because he's my trainer. Tom Blas, he's a Krav Maga instructor and certified personal trainer. He's also a U.S. Army veteran who served 9.5 years as a combat engineer. But before I bring him on, I want to talk a little bit about what the purpose of the show is today. Tom, being an Army veteran, has experienced some circumstances that have invoked a post-traumatic stress disorder and conditions of discomfort with post-trauma. Let me give you some stats on PTSD and service individuals. PTSD affects approximately 3.5% of U.S. adults every year, and an estimated 1 in 11 people will be diagnosed with PTSD in their lifetime. Women are twice as likely as men to have PTSD. Here are the symptoms of PTSD in veterans. And while you can develop PTSD symptoms in the hours or days following the traumatic event, sometimes symptoms don't surface for months or even years after a service individual returns from deployment. While PTSD develops differently in each veteran, there are 4 symptom clusters. So I'm going to go over these really quick. One is reoccurrent, intrusive reminders of the post-traumatic stress, including distressful thoughts, nightmares, flashbacks, where you feel like an event is happening again. You may experience extreme emotional and physical reactions and reminders of trauma, such as panic attacks. Then there's extreme avoidance of things that remind you of the traumatic event. There's negative changes in your thoughts and mood, and being on guard all the time, jumpy or emotional reactive. I've had individuals that have experienced service individuals that have experienced PTSD in the past, and one example that stands out was when this particular person went to a restaurant. He said that it was hard for him to stop his thoughts because he would always look for a way out. As soon as he sat down, where are the escape routes? And he couldn't really shut that off. And the reason I wanted to bring Tom Blas onto the show, because his story is phenomenal. He's actually been able to do something incredible with his experience. As an Army veteran, he has turned his PTSD into a passion with helping others, and he does that through physical training. I'd like to welcome Tom Blas. Hi, Tom.
Hey, how you doing, Rusty?
Good. How you doing, bud? Hey,
doing awesome.
Do you feel like those stats, like the reoccurring symptoms of PTSD or the reoccurring extreme avoidance, negative and change in thoughts and mood, and being on guard all the time, does that sound about right?
Yes, definitely. They're, especially depending upon what the experience was, it's either replayed in your head multiple times or you feel like you're reliving it, especially when you're speaking about it. I know from personal experience, even right now, my mouth waters just thinking about it or talking about it.
I noticed that, like, just talking about it is giving you some sort of a visceral response, like you're teary-eyed, and there's something that it invokes something in you. Yes. Yes,
it does. Trying to, when you're reliving it or even thinking about it, especially depending upon what has happened. For myself, it was suffering secondary bilateral burns to my legs in Kosovo. This was back in November 16th of 2000. It's something that's been brought up. It brings up on my either daily or daily life of either if I have to speak about it or if I have somebody that comes to me that tells me that they suffer from PTSD as well.
Yeah.
Dealing with the veterans that I deal with, dealing with police officers, and just so many other individuals or people, clients that I train that have either experienced it themselves.
I see. This is going to be a remarkable story, but let's start at the very beginning. Your Army experience. So tell me, how old were you? Where are you from? Like, let's get to know you. How did all of this start for you?
Yeah. Well, coming from a military family, my dad, there's a family of 5, right? And my dad actually served in Vietnam. So he was in the Army for 24 years. And then my oldest brother served for about 4.5 years as a Chinook mechanic or flight engineer. And then the middle brother, my brother John, he served for over 25 years with the 82nd Airborne. And then myself, I served for 9.5 years. But
how old were you when you joined the military?
I was 18 when I got in. This was back in 93, so I served from 93 to 02. So shortly after graduating is when I decided to go into the military. So I needed a direction in my life, especially during that time. But I'm from Guam. A lot of people don't know where that is.
So wait, who is that? Yeah. Who is that? Is it the president of Guam? He's like this kickboxer, like a. So wait, who is this guy? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. Actually.
Oh, okay. Well, is it? Do I have the right guy? Or the governor, and he's like this amazing like kickboxer, or
that could be from a past.
Okay.
I honestly don't know.
Okay,
but
sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
So sure.
Here's the thing. I'm from Guam. Both of my parents are from Guam, but I was born in Alaska because my dad was served or stationed there as well. So out of 5 kids, my oldest sister was the only one that was born on Guam, and then everybody else was born in Alaska. So being a military brat as well, we moved around. I've been blessed to travel to multiple places all across the globe. My dad decided to retire from Germany and move back to Guam. So we moved back to Guam in 88.
In 88.
Yes.
And so your father was actively in the military, and so that's why you moved around the different places.
Yeah, so we moved about every 3 years.
Wow. So, but you guys stayed in Guam, though.
When my dad retired, that's when we moved to Guam.
Okay.
So, they wanted to be able to go back to where they were from. And then we were there from 88, and then I moved in 97. But I got into the military from 93 until 02. So I had different deployments and everything. So where I suffered, my burns was in Camp Bonstone, Kosovo.
We're going to get into that. But what did you do? What exactly did you do, like, for the military?
So, being a combat engineer, you pretty much work with so many different things dealing with construction. So, I dealt with asphalt. I dealt with building of roads, blowing up stuff. So it was,
oh wow,
and just anything that we were told to do, really. So I was attached to an asphalt company, and then I dealt with construction. We did different work with one of my deployments was to Korea. So I wasn't far from the DMZ. So that was an area of one of my deployments, and then another one was to help Task Force Border Patrol with building a 2-mile road right out of San Diego, right at the border.
Wow.
Tijuana.
So you did a lot of like the building and demolitions.
Yes.
So you're around a lot of equipment that.
Yes. So I could drive anything from a small Bobcat all the way up to dealing with cranes.
Dealing with cranes, and
yeah.
so, and you were also around like demolition equipment. So
yes.
like explosives and
Claymore mines,
Claymore mines, and so that's what the engineers do in the military.
Yeah, and bottom line, we do exactly what we're told.
Yeah, you take orders.
Yeah.
Wow. So you were 18 at the time?
Yes.
And how long did it take you to reach that status to be a combat engineer?
Yeah, that's one. So my military occupational specialty, or my MOS, was 6-2 Juliet. So that's actually labeled as a combat engineer. So my basic training was when I flew from Guam all the way to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I was there, Fort Jackson, for my basic training, and then I flew up to Fort Leavenworth, or what we call Fort Lost in the Woods, in Missouri, because you really feel like you're lost in the woods. So that's where I did my advanced individual training, which is my AIT.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're running short on time. We actually have about a minute left before this segment, but I have a lot of questions. But I would just want to kind of review something before we go. Army experience, combat vet. Now we're moving into the episode where you had the PTSD, the encounter, the big accident. We'll be right back after this message. Hang tight.
Monday. You're listening to the Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano, brought to you by the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy in Addison, Texas.
Hi, we're back from the break. If you're just joining us, we're visiting with Tom Blas. He's a Krav Maga instructor, certified personal trainer, U.S. veteran who served 9.5 years as a combat engineer, and he is a trainer at Extreme Studio Performance here in Dallas, Texas, and we'll be talking about that center on our fourth segment. But where we left off, Tom, was you were telling me about your experience as a combat engineer, and I wanted to kind of make the point that that you're around a lot of explosives, you're around a lot of demolition and building, and so something happened on November 16th. So can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yes. So November 16th of 2000, I ended up suffering second-degree bilateral burns to my legs. I was fully engulfed in flames for about 20 seconds, even according to the other guys that actually saw it. But what happened was it was involving N-heptane, which is an additive for jet fuel. We were getting ready to stage our vehicles to head back to San Antonio, and
real quick,
yeah.
And when you told me about this, you said that you were when you say engulfed in flames.
Yeah,
you said it was like the stunt man that look like they're walking around.
Yeah, except you're not walking around, and I'm just thankful I wasn't in civilian clothing. I was in our BDUs, or battle dress uniform, is like flame retardant. So, but I was fully engulfed in flames. It was like looking through a big lighter, like right next to me, and I could feel the heat coming up. So I was, and actually what I did was I kicked a big 5-gallon canister of N-heptane, which is an additive for jet fuel, to get it away from some other soldiers, as I already witnessed it, starting a fire. So the purpose of doing that was because I just didn't want it to hit them, or for them to be involved. So when I kicked it to get it away from them, it fully engulfed me up in flames. The stop, drop, and roll, that doesn't work when it's a chemical. So
man.
So finally, after it was out, I could see my legs cooking. So,
Tom, how did this happen? How did that even catch on fire?
Well, because in heptane, it's an additive for jet fuel, so it's highly volatile.
Yeah.
So when it's a chemical burn, it's like just a spark. It just goes.
So did something hit it? Did something nick the barrel? Like, how did that?
It was me. So I kicked the barrel to get it away from the guys, and it went up my body instead. But
it had already ignited.
Yeah. So it already ignited, and when it was going, for a split second or second or two, right after my burns had, or right after the flames had stopped, trying to put them out and everything. What happened was I didn't feel anything, and then all of a sudden I could feel everything. So it was the worst possible feeling. Like, I would never wish this on anybody. And
how long were you engulfed in flames?
Well, from everybody saying it was roughly about 20 seconds. So
20 seconds. But
yeah,
for you, it probably felt like
it was a long time. I could feel the heat, and that's the main thing that I was feeling. But the mere fact that we're outside of the compound, outside of Camp Bond still, you can't go into a compound with locked and loaded weapons. So we had to clear everything. It still took them roughly about 15, 20 minutes just to be able to get me into the medical facility to be able to start treatment. So
oh my gosh.
I'm yelling at the top of my lungs. I've already, I was throwing up. I lost my voice because of the yelling and everything, because I'm still cooking. I didn't realize the severity of the burns until I tried to sit down, and even from the statements and everything that were supporting documents for my disability, it was actually the guys were like, man, it just looked like shredded meat right at the back of my legs. So I tried to sit down in the 20-ton in the dump truck, and I couldn't even sit down.
How did they put the fire out?
So, well, it was a bunch of us that were they were trying to take BDU jackets and to smother it, right? But even after doing that, you still have all that feeling, right? So, my legs are still cooking and everything. My BDUs were like crunchy at that time, but I didn't even realize it until when we got into the medical tent. It took 2 morphine drips to put me out. So that's how severe it was. Wow. So what I was doing though was that, I was trying to let them do their treatment and everything. There was a soldier that was pouring saline all over my legs to be able to get the burning to stop, or to somehow make me feel a little better. But I kept on calling for more saline and everything. And then finally, it took the 2 morphine drips to put me out. I woke up halfway, with my head looking up at helicopter, things, and what they were deploying, or they were medevacing me, from Skopje from Camp Bonstow to Skopje. And then Skopje was where they put me in a C-130, to take me out to Landstuhl Regional Medical Center, so in Germany.
And then the experience wasn't over because you had the rehabilitation part of this.
Yeah. So here's the thing: you burn, or you heal from the inside out. So everything is when you're first, I was told I wouldn't be able to walk at all for a good 6 to 8 weeks. I ended up walking normal after about 3.5 weeks. So I ended up. One of the things that I did, and this is something that all burn victims understand, is it is brutal to clean your own burns. So after my first cleaning, I chose to clean my own burns. I was because apparently the person cleaning my burns couldn't count when she was scrubbing my legs, and then kept on counting 1, 1, 1, 1. Well, you can only last that long. So I decided to clean my own burns. So if you remember what we use for pots and pans, the Brillo pad, that's what I had to use to clean my own burns. So I was at Landstuhl Regional Medical Center in Germany. I was on the floor that I was supposed to have skin grafts, but because I was intaking like a ton of food, because I love to eat. Anybody that knows me knows I love to eat.
And you like to eat your dessert first.
Yes, okay, but that's a completely other show. So the point though was that I ended up not having to need the skin grafts, but I when you clean your burns, I had to clean them until there was no debris. So if you were there, I apologize for all the yelling and screaming that I was doing, but I'm scrubbing my legs, and everything, so I can get all the debris off. It had to rebleed, and then I had to, bandage it up.
So that has to take a completely different level of strength to do something like that.
Yeah.
And just to tell a medical professional, look, I'll do it. And then because I imagine like when you take off the wrapping, that's like almost like peeling off the wound again, like a scab.
Yes. And, having to rebandage over and over was not an easy thing because I'm having to relive it. So the other thing that I did was that instead of because I was told, hey, do you want to just go back to BAMC or be medevaced or flown over from Lonsdale to BAMC in San Antonio, I wanted to return back with the guys that I served with during that time in Kosovo. So I actually flew back to Kosovo so I could be able to go back to the States with the guys that I served 228 days in country with.
Would you say that you found like a whole nother level of strength within yourself, having to do
yes,
care for yourself? And
yeah, well, and here's the thing is that, Rusty, it was God giving me a second chance at life. I truly didn't understand, what was going on. I honestly thought I was going to die that day. But it's also a time where, of course you all have a Bible when you're in a hospital bed and everything. So one of the first scriptures that I actually read was, I can do all things in him who strengthens me, Philippians 4:13. It never really dawned on me what I was reading, what I was doing. But being given that second chance at life, I started to understand is that it was never about me. So, when I was introduced to Krav Maga, I never understood how it was going to affect my life and affect others. Right. But going through the training is not an easy thing. When you get certified through Krav Maga, I mean, they try to do everything to get you to fail. And these are the 7-day courses, not the weekend courses. So, but going through the experience that I went through with the burns, it made me realize I can do anything. There is nothing that I will ever quit at. So that's why I chose to, and I'm thankful for Pete Hardy actually introduced me to Krav Maga back in San Antonio.
Do you think was your faith pretty strong before all of this, or was it a renewed sense of faith?
Well, my faith is it's something that's been growing with me through the years. I can honestly say that it wasn't me who led me to Christ. My wife is actually who led me to Christ. She's the one she's a strong foundation in our family with our girls. And with that, I can definitely say that there's I had some very dark times, and the strength from the burns is also what's allowed me to never quit at anything else that's ever put in front of me.
Wow. So the experience really started to mold you, and
yes,
a new sense of strength and determination started to develop within yourself.
Yes.
And part of it was relying on yourself, trusting yourself, and really managing through some of the most excruciating pain that you've ever experienced in your life.
Yeah, and with the burns, itself, I mean, yeah, I can still tell they're there. I'm self-conscious of them. That's why, but I'm also thankful I don't wear Daisy Dukes around, right? So, no one's going to be able to see my burns unless I actually show them. But it's given me a sense of compassion for others that have either suffered through PTSD or have ever suffered burns or anything else in their lives that are hardships, right? Because it's being able to try to help them to get past their issues as well, but trying to find the positive in it.
And that's where we're going to tie in this next segment with your training and how you motivate people and get them to face their own challenges. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages, guys.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hi, everyone. It's Rodney Anderson with Supreme Lending. I'm here to tell you there are some wonderful opportunities in today's housing market for people to go out and buy homes and get good deals. The first thing you have to do is be pre-approved up front. Sellers want to know, are you for real? Realtors want to know, are you for real? And I want you to know where your finances sit right now and what is the best loan option available for you. We handle loans for people buying primary residences, vacation homes, or investment properties. If you're in the market to buy a home, our goal is to close your purchase in 8 to 15 days. All it takes is one simple phone call to 1-800-EXPRESS. That's 1-800-397-7377. Or you can always go to rodneyanderson.com, and our goal is to close your purchase in 8 to 15 days.
With approved credit, terms subject to change without notice. Equal housing lender. NMLS ID 2129. Not affiliated with a government entity. MLO NMLS ID 196730. 4975 Preston Park Boulevard, Suite 800, Plano, Texas 75093.
TACLB 26616E.
I'm Randy Kelly, top dog here at the On Time Experts. No fancy music, no fanfare, because this is important. If something goes wrong with your AC this summer, call the On Time Experts and we'll arrive that same day. Guaranteed. If we don't, your repair will be free. Same day or it's free means same day or it's free. Okay, now you can jingle.
267-2007.
TheOnTimeExperts.com.
These fans aren't working. When are we going to get the AC fixed?
Got it! Dinner's at 6!
No, when are we going to get the AC fixed?
Yeah, I got everything on the grocery list.
I said AC fixed.
I love chips and dip.
Having AC troubles? Just call Milestone now and get the Milestone tune-up for only $129. Or visit us online at callmilestone.com.
The all-new Talk Radio 1190.
The Hour with Rusty Lozano. Brought to you by the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy in Addison, Texas.
Hi, welcome back to the show. If you're just joining us, we're visiting with Tom Blas. He's a Krav Maga instructor, certified personal trainer, U.S. Army veteran at Body Defense, and he works out of Extreme Studio Performance here in Dallas, Texas, extremestudioperformance.com. Listen to this, guys. I want you to... I took some sound bites of... Tom at the center, and it's an amazing experience. It's different. It's unlike anything that I've ever really encountered because Tom actually he integrates boxing with I guess a few number of things. I'm not even competent to say, but all I know is that it's hard work. I mean, there's no playing around with that. I've had to just walk away a few times just because I'm about to just fall over.
You're good. You're good.
But it takes a little time to get there. But the strength keeps coming, and you inspire people, man. You inspire me, like to want to do something.
Thank you so much.
And so let's talk a little bit about. We went over to the PTSD and how that affected you and how you relied on yourself and you learned to trust yourself. And then you found a new direction, Krav Maga. Let's start there and tell me about that.
Yeah. So real quick, what actually led me to there or what got to it was I ran a string of clubs called Fitness Connection in San Antonio. And Pete Hardy actually came in he was the head instructor at the time for Krav Maga, and he brought it in, and he was looking for instructors, and he ended up sending me out to LA for my certifications. So, I ended up becoming an instructor. It was a 7-day course. You go through everything you can possibly imagine, and then when you get back and everything, then we started classes, and fast forwarding it to now, the business that my wife and I lead, what happens is that, we take people and, I do the striking side as well as the self-defense side. And I think that they coincide with each other very, very well.
What is Krav Maga?
So Krav Maga is the Israeli self-defense system. It's what the Israeli military uses, what a lot of our law enforcement now uses, at different levels, air marshals, so it's one of the, it's based on instinctive movements. So it's if somebody were to come up and choke you, for instance, your bottom line, you got to breathe. Right. So you're going to go to, it's not some learned response. You're going to go to instinctive response of bring your hands up closer to your neck and trying to get the person's hands away. So what we utilize is that we utilize the self-defense directly with the counters. So it's a forceful pluck with both hands directly with a kick to the groin between the legs. Right. So because we're hitting areas of immediate response. Right. So the last thing you want to do is hit a guy in the chest. It just pisses them off. Right. But if you gouge their eyes, you do. And these are brutal things. But it also comes back to the amount of force. We use the amount of force that parallels the amount of danger that we're in, right? So everything leading up to gun takeaways, to knife defense, to to multiple attackers. It's bottom line. You want to do as much damage as possible to incapacitate the person and to be able to get to safety, right? You're not sitting there going toe to toe,
right?
And you're fighting for your life. So.
Because a lot of these are, because I've seen some of the more advanced trainees, and they're doing these Superman punches and knee hits, and so I mean, I'm still at the basic 1-2s,
yeah.
and but then like you'll see like a turn spin and backhand to your face, and so these are instinctual. It's very smooth. The movements themselves are, they're unsuspecting too. I mean, you would not expect.
Yeah. So one of the things that I do, not just because you have to strike, right? So just because you took the gun away or dealt with the knife, you still have to strike. You still have to hit areas of your immediate response, right? Yeah. So if you've never punched anything in your life, you've never kicked anything, you've never, took somebody's head and drove your knee into their face. I mean, there's so many different elements to it, right? So that's why I believe that the striking side is just as important as the self-defense. Mm-hmm. So that's what we do with all of our clients. So when you have an attacker that's bigger, stronger, faster, right? You want to be able to do as much damage as possible to be able to get to safety. Right?
Tom, how did this help you, man?
This helps me a lot. With my PTSD, it actually helps to relax me, which is amazing. And people can actually see it that work with me. I invite people that love to hit with me. You'll be amazed. I have multiple clients that say over 15 that are over 6 foot that hit me and enjoy hitting me. And it's, I love it. I have so many different walks of life that hit with me. People that have never hit before, people that they think they can hit, but I have everything, right? And I have a passion for teaching. So it's like so many different things, teaching a person to breathe, teaching a person to keep their eyes open when they're striking. Bringing their hands back to their face. It's the only your hands are the only physical barrier that has, that you can be able to protect your face from somebody else's hands, right? But striking with purpose, right? And that's one of the things that we go over. It's okay to learn how to hit, but I'd rather you hit with purpose or not hit at all, right? So if you're going to hit somebody, your goal is to be able to do enough damage to be able to protect yourself, and it's empowering to so many people. It's also, it builds a camaraderie with people that we have in the gym. But it really is, it truly is. It's a very unique experience, and I'm thankful to actually be able to be blessed to be a part of it.
And it's amazing what you do, man. It really is.
Thank you.
But the one thing that I think about is like I think back to your story on November 16th and like your recovery and how you had to rely on yourself. You've had to, you ushered a healthcare worker away. I'll do it, scrubbing a Brillo pad on your burns, and then you trusted yourself to do it. And so then here you are trusting other people or teaching other people to trust themselves and their body to overcome some of the stressors that they encounter. Because we're going to get into this reality-based training on the next segment, but these are individuals that you've said that haven't experienced negative PTSD like scenarios themselves.
Yes.
And so here they are learning how to defend themselves and how to use their bodies so that they develop a sense of trust within themselves and not, well, is society going to take care of me or is this place safe?
And what it comes out to is that, I mirror every single person that comes to see me. So I have people that have had those life-threatening experiences that are like, okay, well, I wish I would have been able to do this. Well, it's also the reality. I can't sit there if somebody's ever had a gun pointed to their head, like I've had multiple clients that have dealt with that experience. So I can't do that immediately, but I build them up to that, right? So I work them through it. It's almost like counseling at the same time. It's letting them understand that, hey, we'll work through this, right? We'll do this together. And it's an amazing thing to watch. So I have people. That's why you'll see on on my Instagram or my Facebook, you'll see that people that I take off guard. But just yelling at somebody is enough to even startle somebody. But that's really what it comes out to.
That reality-based training. And if you do check out Tom's Instagram, it's Body Defense. It's a public site, right?
Yes.
So anybody can watch those videos. Mm-hmm. But there's a couple of segments in that on your Instagram where people are being pushed down. There's actually a gun being placed, and it's a mock gun, but being placed to their head, and then they have a reactionary response to defend themselves and incapacitate the, I don't know what you call it, the perpetrator, take the gun away, and then follow up with a few kicks in to the groin or to the shin, and then turn the tide so that the gun is actually pointed back at them. You teach this.
Yes.
And then I've also seen on these videos where girls have been pushed down hard, reality based, right? I mean, this isn't like you can go slowly.
Yeah, no, they all go to, it's called fall breaks. So it's the reality of if you're in an attack, 80% of altercations will end up on the floor, right? So if they get pushed, if they get shoved, so that's one of the things that I teach to to a lot of my clients.
And it's reality based, so they really are getting pushed, and then they go into a defense state, and you can also kind of see the look on their face sometimes. I think I even made a reference to one young lady who actually kind of seemed a little jumpy every single time that something happened. Like you could tell something was being induced in her, and she recovered quickly. So that recovery time is really phenomenal. So you've turned something that you've had to overcome yourself into something that affects other people that have all maybe, and we don't know their stories, that have probable, PTSD encounters themselves. And it's like you're leading them.
Yeah. So especially with fall breaks, I teach them to go from the ground up. It takes me about 10 minutes to show somebody how to do a fall break. And then I start putting them under pressure. So I get them to that level where, yes, I will shove them, or I'll use the pad to actually get a response from them as well.
Yeah.
But then how to get up correctly. It's not just about fall breaking correctly to where you're not hurting your spine, you're bouncing your head off of concrete or anything, but it's also about getting up correctly so you're not taking a swift kick to the face.
Yeah, right. And then they love it, and they continue to come back, and it's
yes,
I'm like, look, man, but they love it, and they're learning. And they're getting stronger.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I have some of the nicest people in the world that I train. When they first come in, they're super nice, and then less than 6 months later, they're some of the meanest people that I take care of. And I have video proof, so if anybody ever says, "Oh no, they're super nice," no, I'm the one who also receives a lot of these punches.
I've seen some of those. I mean, even my son and I have been guilty of that ourselves. You had to watch Harrison's hook shot and just back up a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's a very intense program. It's very real. It's actually and it's challenging. I think it's one of the most amazing experiences that somebody can have when they're training. It's just, I don't even know how to put it into words, but it's a connection with you and everything else that also makes it phenomenal. If there wasn't somebody that they could trust, I think it would be a lot different. And your heart's in it, man. You can tell.
Well, definitely. So, and I love having that ability to be able to take people, as early as 5 a.m. all the way up until 7, 8 in the evening.
There you go. Yeah. Well, hey, we're going to take a real quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about a big venue, a big nonprofit concept you have going on, and we'll visit about it. We'll be right back.
Russ Martin Show, weekdays, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Talk Radio 1190. Never miss a moment of the show because you were at happy hour or at dinner with the family. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. The Russ Martin Show on Talk Radio 1190.
When you go to trade in your car, do you owe more than it's worth? That's called negative equity. At DM Auto Leasing, they specialize in getting rid of your negative equity in a lease. To learn more, visit dmautoleasing.com.
We make leasing easy at D&M.
Hey, it's Otto, install manager at Car Toys. Our 34th birthday bash deals end Monday. Our certified techs will install Apple CarPlay and Android Auto receivers for free when you spend $299 or more on select models, including brands like Alpine and JVC. Plus, get a free $60 backup camera with any regular priced multimedia receiver from JVC, Kenwood, Pioneer, and Sony.
Save up to 50% off subwoofers from Alpine and half off Alpine and Pioneer speakers for $39.
Car Toys, a better way to go.
I'm Jeff Stewart with Reliant Air Conditioning. In the last year, we've saved our customers over $800,000. How'd we do it? With our exclusive partnership with your utility provider, we get to offer instant rebates of up to $2,400 just for replacing that worn-out old air conditioning system. But here's the kicker. When you combine that with the current factory rebates, you can save over $5,000 on a brand new air conditioning system that can cut your electric bill in half for as little as $98 a month. But you'll have to hurry because the utility funds are limited and they can run out at any time. So we're scheduling our free estimates on a first-come, first-served basis. So call 2 other companies first, get their price, and then call Reliant Air Conditioning, and you'll see how we've been gimmick-free since '83. Our number's 877-YOUR-HERO, or schedule your free estimate online at ReliantAirConditioning.com.
Reliant Air Conditioning. Call 877-YOUR-HERO.
Hi, break time?
I know you.
I'm Cologuard, a prescription colon cancer screening option for people 45 plus at average risk. It seems like you take care of yourself.
I do. I play tennis. I try to eat well.
What about screening for colon cancer?
Not yet.
Don't wait. Colon cancer is more treatable when it's caught in early stages.
Tell me more.
Cologuard is non-invasive and is used at home. It detects altered DNA in your stool to find 92% of colon cancers.
92%?
Yep, even those in early stages.
This was seen in a clinical study with patients 50 and older. Any positive result should be followed by a diagnostic colonoscopy. False positive and negative results may occur. Cologuard is not a replacement for colonoscopy in high-risk patients. Do not use if you have had adenomas, have inflammatory bowel disease and certain hereditary syndromes, or a personal or family history of colon cancer.
Most insured patients pay $0. Ask your provider or an online prescriber if Cologuard is right for you, or visit requestcologuard.com.
I'm on it.
Excellent.
The all-new Talk Radio 1190.
You're listening to the Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano, brought to you by the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy in Addison, Texas.
Hi, we're back from the break. We are visiting with Tom Blas from Extreme Studio Performance in Dallas, Texas. His program, his business is Body Defense. He operates within Extreme Studio Performance. And on our prior segment, we were talking about, his program with Krav Maga and the reality-based training. And so you had said something over the break that I want you to actually repeat, if you could, that about people coming forward.
Yes. So with Instagram, for instance, I have, because we posted multiple self-defense videos like the fall breaks or the gun takeaways and everything, and people that see my clients actually doing that will reach out to me, either DM me or send me a text and find me and say, hey, you know what, this happened to me. I'd like to be able to learn how to either get past this situation, and I feel like I need to be better equipped. So, it's allowed for multiple of my new clients to come forward and say, this is something I want to do. I would encourage so many others to actually do the same.
Because I imagine there's a lot of people that don't say anything. I mean, they have some sort of a traumatic event, maybe an attack or a robbery of some sort.
Yes.
And maybe they go through somebody like me, like counseling and the therapeutic realm, but then what do they do? I can put myself in a situation like that, and I can imagine every time I leave the house to go to a restaurant or go out to a bar with some friends or that maybe it's in the back of my mind that, you know, it could happen again, and I would want to avoid those kinds of situations. So, and a lot of people don't know what to do.
Yeah. Well, and it's, especially with the training that we do, it's always, one of the things that we think of is it's always better to be prepared and never to have to use instead of vice versa.
Right.
Right. So that's one of the things. And it's one of the statements that we always get from new clients coming in is, man, I wish I would have done this earlier. Well, you know, and unfortunately in our society today, we always wait for something bad to happen before we decide to do something good about it. Right. So taking this proactive approach, this is why we not only make it inviting, but fun to learn, but there's so many different elements to it. It's not just the self-defense that you're coming into. You're not just doing the striking. You're also doing the fitness side, you know, so it's something that your overall, your well-being. So, because there's so many different drills that we utilize, even in just the Krav Maga side, we do fatigue drills, we do stress drills. We do so many different types to where you have to learn how to be your best when you're at your worst. Right? When you want to give up. Well, unfortunately, in today's world is that if you don't have one attacker, you may have more than one. So just because you dealt with one, you still have to deal with the others.
Tell me about Empowering Warriors of North Texas.
So with the nonprofit that was designed, it's a 501(c) that was just started. It's to help other veterans be able to either cope with their PTSD by giving them access to extreme studio performance, and then teaching them either Krav Maga classes, boxing classes, fitness classes to be able to help them to cope with that. I've served multiple veterans up to now, and one of the veterans, I'm so thankful that I was actually to help him, is that because he resides in Houston, we're able to help him to get up to 100% disability that actually will help his family in turn. So, you know, and this is something with myself, just to give you an understanding, the reason why I started this was back in 2005. My burns happened in 2000. Back in 2005, I was denied by the Dallas VA. And the doctor literally said to me, my burns weren't big enough to file a claim. And it hurt me. But when you understand what we deal with in the military is that once a doctor says something, we typically take it for what it's worth, and then we just leave it. So 13 years later, I met with another combat veteran who gave me the information that I needed to be able to support, you know, my disability claim. And then now, you know, I do have partial disability benefits, right? But if it wasn't for this person giving me the correct information, and that's what we all lack that have served, is that we just don't have the right people helping us, right? And, you know, I wish all the stuff that I've been able to help other veterans with, I wish that was actually given to me a long time ago instead of, you know, 18 years later when it finally kicked in. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, so, because you know, you had to fend for yourself and find your own devices to help you cope.
Yeah, because anybody that's ever served in the military, the first thing that we're told is don't go to sick call. Don't ever complain. Take care of your job, do your job, and get it done. And then when we get out, then we're asked by the VA, well, why didn't you go to sick call? Well, why didn't you tell somebody? I'm like, do you realize that's not what we're told? Yeah. So, you know, I've been blessed to say, you know what, looking forward, since this has actually helped me, now I want to be able to help others. Mm-hmm. So creating the 501(c), the president for the 501(c) is actually a former Marine. She's an amazing young lady. She's also one of my clients. And then we have multiple people to be able to help out with this. So I'm truly blessed to have Extreme Studio Performance as the place where we actually utilize, because it's such an amazing environment and everybody truly is like family. So with Empowering Warriors of North Texas, you know, we're able to provide we do a membership for the veteran, and we give classes. And I've been doing these things pro bono just because I want to be able to help out and not wait for any federal grants or anything. We would love donations, but at the end of the day, I'm looking at it as it's about the veteran. It's not about me anymore, and it's about helping them to cope with what they're dealing with.
Yeah, and we've talked about, like, you know, the amount of support that there is available for these veterans, but that's another show. Tell me about Extreme Studio Performance. Now, this place is huge and it's wide open, and there are all kinds of things. They have fields in that place, and
yes,
What's the history there? Tell me about that, Blas.
So what I do know about it, the owner, his name is Michael Scatia. He's such an amazing guy. The thing I love about him more than anything is that he's consistent. He'll be laughing, especially if he's listening to this right now, because I am speaking the truth. I was brought into the facility. They were trying to get me in there for a little bit over 6 months to be able to try to get us to move from the previous gym that I was at and to Extreme Studio Performance. I will tell you that when I walked in, that was what the one thing that changed my whole entire aspect or view of Extreme Studio Performance, because of not only how big it is, how clean it is, how amazing just the whole environment. Everybody's like family.
Everybody's very nice at that place. They're very supportive.
But we're also professional. We don't have riffraff that comes in there, but we love to have fun, and especially because we're there from 4 or 5 in the morning. Mike, and of course, will be there like at 3 or 4 in the morning, but 4 or 5 in the morning, and then we go until like 6, 7, 8 in the evening.
Oh wow!
But there's so many professional services that we offer there. It's not just what I offer, but there's so many others.
There's a lot of trainers there, and they have different specialties.
Yeah.
You have a chiropractor,
yes,
on the premise as well.
Yeah, so we have Reform that's owned by Travis Mann. He's such an amazing guy as well. I send a lot of my clients to him that need therapy. He's also one of the reasons why when my back went out, I was so thankful I was actually there when it happened. Because they were able to put me back on track. But we have Thomas Everett, who played for the Cowboys. Such an amazing guy, amazing heart. He deals with clients there as well. Dylan Douglas is an amazing power lifter. Just overall, amazing guy that played football for ACU. But he's got a big heart and everything. We have so many different others. David Wellick, he specializes in mobility, yoga. The guy's phenomenal. And then just so many other trainers that we deal with that, I apologize if I haven't mentioned.
Yeah.
But it's like a second home, right?
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, ExtremeStudioPerformance.com and Tom Blas is Body and Defense on Instagram. And thanks for the time, Tom. I really appreciate you coming here and sharing your story.
Thank you, Rusty. This was amazing.
It's been a really great experience and learning more about you. All right. Have a good one.
Thank you.